What's up, y'all? It's QB for Culturalist Theory. At the time of this recording, Nicki Minaj is on tour promoting her CT eligibility album Pink Friday 2. If you haven't peeped the criteria, you gotta have at least 5 LPs to your credit to qualify for a list. So as Mrs. Petty crisscrosses the globe, what better time to rank the works of the reigning queen of rap? Give us a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe and share if you love it, and the comment section is already open, so let's get to it. Far from being politically correct, as she claimed with Pink Friday, and continuing to shuck purely sex-driven rap, Nick wanted to show that her power came more from her command of her craft than it did from her crotch. Roman Reloaded had performances not seen in rap since the original Dungeon Dragon Busta Rhymes and the iconic Missy Misdemeanor Elliott. Minaj proved to be fearless on the mic, rapping, singing, and acting all at the same time. Serving as the executive producer, Nicki was able to craft the project in her own image, and that image happened to be one of the most recognizable and perhaps most distinguished of the alter egos in her arsenal, the British-born Roman Zelensky. The project itself draws a sharp delineation between the top and the bottom. It's half Bees in the Trap with beats by Kino, Hit Boy, and others, half Starships led by production from Red One. And that's responsible for this placement. We wanted to hear more Roman. She bragged about putting female rappers on the map, and she wasn't wrong. Nick has knocked down doors and paved new ground for the rap girls of today, i.e. Doja Cat's Scarlet. A lot of that has to do with this album and the amount of crossover success she was able to garner, capped with an unforgettable Exorcist-themed performance of Roman Holiday at the 2012 Grammys, the first solo performance by a female rapper in Grammys history. While we applaud her accomplishments and contributions to the game, we prefer Roman fully loaded instead of half-cocked. There is quite clearly an argument for Nicki Minaj to be the current queen of rap, if not the GOAT, as even having 5 albums is a feat few, if any, of the other girls have or will reach. So Nicki spun the block after a 4-year hiatus to secure her position on the throne once again. In 2 years of recording, Nicki worked with a slew of producers including Boy Wonder, Ben Billions, and Metro Boomin, with appearances from artists like Eminem, Future, and Sway Lee. She even got Inga back in the booth for Caribbean-infused Coco Chanel featuring fellow Trini, Foxy Brown. Critics at the time accused Queen of being bloated, a 19-track album that could have been a 10-piece classic. The standouts for us, Nicki's playful remake of a Biggie classic, Barbie Dreams, Rich Sex featuring Lil Wayne, and Come See About Me. Misses, Ganja Burn, Majesty featuring Labyrinth and Marshall Mathers, and the aforementioned Coco Chanel. It could be said that the album lacked direction, but the fact that it favors more hip-hop and she doesn't default to dance pop puts this one over our number 5. Nicki still shows versatility with Bed featuring Ariana Grande and Thought I Knew You with The Weeknd. Queen was a good record to satisfy the barbs, it just didn't do much to put the crown further out of reach. The bar is already set pretty high. Though, curiously, it was around this time that we finally see Nicki start to embrace the new girls on the block, well, some of them. Over the years, Nicki has done a lot of crossover collabs, including with David Guetta and Madonna. One of her favorites to go back and forth with has been Ariana Grande, and if we had to rank the top 3 of their 6 shared tracks, it might go something like Bad to You, Bang Bang, and Get on Your Knees at the top. Who is an artist you love to see her collab with? A full album perhaps? Let us know in the comments. Pink Friday 2 was a sequel 5 years in the making that dropped at the end of 2023. PF2, which debuted at number 1, was Nick's 3rd number 1 album and had the largest vinyl sales week by a female rapper ever. A nice bonus gem in her crown. 9 months before breaking these records, Nicki started to release Lucy's that turned out to be singles for the upcoming project, including her first ever solo number 1, Super Freaky Girl, a track that borrows heavily from the Rick James classic Super Freak. A female rapper had not debuted at the top of Billboard 100 since Miss Lauryn Hill's Doo-Wop That Thing in 1998. Speaking of, early on in her career, Nicki drew comparisons to Lauryn Hill, with people essentially seeing her as a second coming. 5 albums deep, were they right on the money or off the mark? And if you're thinking we got Nicki Minaj confused with Cardi B, who had solo number 1 hits with Bodak Yellow and Up, the key word here is debuted. Barty's songs entered lower before achieving peak position. It was also the first number 1 record for the sample track itself, which had been taken around the block more than 30 times in some way, shape, or form. There are high-profile samples sprinkled throughout the record and on 4 out of the 5 Pink Friday 2 singles, specifically Never Leave You, Uh-Oh by Lumi D and Move Your Feet by Junior Senior, both from the early 2000s, appearing on Ruby Red the Sleaze and Everybody respectively, and Waka Flocka's Fuck the Club Up on the abbreviated FTCU. Minaj also enlisted a few familiar features from her counterparts in in Young Money's Big Three, with Drake and Wayne making their customary appearances, along with J. Cole, Future, and others dropping verses. For some, this was another bloated track list that lacked cohesion and editing. For others, it was the menagerie of their favorite parts of Nicki spread across 22 tracks. The Barbs got even more pink pixie dust on the Gag City Deluxe and Gag City Pluto editions, boasting additional tracks and features. While Pink Friday 2 may not be a bar-for-bar evolution from its more emotionally driven namesake, it was a welcome release and proved that her pen don't stop, and sometimes girls just want to have fun. After a successful mixtape run, hold up, how do we know it was successful? Well, we look for three things. Number one, establish a fan base. And what fandom goes harder than the Barbs? Number two, accumulate big name cosigns. And three, give the artist a record deal.
Who had Eminem on the first album? Who had Kanye saying she a problem? Who the fuck came in the game, made her own column? Who made Lil Wayne give him $5 million?
Okay, that bar was from the Pink Print, but the point still stands. The Young Money President, along with other EPs, Baby and Slim, shaped an album to put female rappers back on Billboard. No offense to Trina and Lil Mama, whose singles Single Again and Lip Gloss were the only ripples we could find in the FemC wave pool before tidal wave Nick made landfall in 2010. Pink Friday starts with the seemingly daring proclamation that she's the best chick doing it. Even without any direct competition, there's no lies detected. She demonstrates her prowess with tracks that are intimate, exciting, and dynamic, whether it's your first run through or on repeat. Highlights include Dear Old Nicki, Fly with Rihanna, and Roman's Revenge featuring Eminem. There isn't any confusion that Mirage writes all her own raps, because who else could come up with some of this stuff? Nicki plays with voices and characters she had to have been developing since her days at LaGuardia, aka Fame High School, whose alumni include Khalees and Azalea Banks, by the way. She delivers the same braggadocio raps the fellas do without sacrificing her femininity. With that, we get a deep look into her come up and triumph to sit on the throne she's claiming, and of course, shitting on the unfortunate peasants below. This album instantaneously raises the profile and the stakes for Nicki Minaj by exposing her to new audiences and securing her breakthrough to mainstream rap and pop. Her debut was the first, but not the last time she would paint the town pink. In 2010, Nicki was putting in work on the feature circuit with a dozen guest appearances in 1 year. What are your top 3 from this run? Everybody talks about Monster, but don't sleep on Bottoms Up or 5 Star Chick. Comment below and let us know if you want to see that ranking. After bearing her soul on Pink Friday, then serving up a rap pop Arnold Palmer on Roman Reloaded, Nicki produced an album that fully embraced her rap roots and pop star status. Pink Print further imprinted her place in the game. She would expertly ride the center line between singing, pop, and bar down Barbie without skipping a beat. It's her most cohesive and best sequenced album of the 5. The production and features are also top tier. While Nicki was never hard pressed for high profile guests, even she gagged when presented with the opportunity to have Beyonce on Feeling Myself, which was get back for Nick's verse on the flawless remix from B's self-titled joint. The Young Money Trinity also appears twice, once on Only with Chris Brown added to the mix, and Truffle Butter from the deluxe release. The weakest song has to be By a Heart with then boyfriend Philadelphia rapper, we mean Meek Mill. It turned out to be a Sir, not Queen B, who helped deliver Nicki her biggest song to that point. Of course, we're talking about Anaconda, with Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back sample. It peaked at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and was her highest charting single at the time. With 16 tracks on the standard version, Nicki doesn't leave any fan behind. For singing soft and sweet, check out All Things Go, I Lied, and definitely Grand Piano. She's boss Barbie on Get on Your Knees, Feeling Myself, Want Some More, and Only. Get your relationship fixed with Favorite, By a Heart, Pills and Potion, and Bed of Lies. Island Nicki on Trinity Them Girls, and Pop Nick with The Night Still Young. She does all this without dragging the album down. This one by far is Nicki in her stride. It's clear that the new class has Nick and many other trailblazers to thank for paving their way. You can check out our video ranking the top female debuts right here. I'm QB. See you there.